Okay, let's go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. I sure hope you'll listen tonight. I'm in way over my head in this, but there's just things that I feel a real burden and a responsibility to talk about in the times that we're living in, because we're living in different times. You know, that Iranian I mentioned a while ago that reacted to Israel's leaders' statements. You know, he said what? He said from Cyrus the king to Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, what an exciting time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Isn't it something to be alive in this time? I thought about it today. You know, I'm glad I'm alive in this time. It's a little bit unnerving, very much unnerving if you get very far from God and you get to looking at this, you're going to get scared to death. Now you can just do like the ostrich and stick your head in the sand and pretend that it ain't happening, and that's what most of humanity, that's how they deal with everything. That's how they're dealing with this. But I just feel like that a preacher, and especially a pastor, is a watchman. I just think it's a duty to watch. And it's a duty to pay attention more than pay attention for those who won't pay attention. Pay attention for those who can't pay attention. For those who are just unable to, not up to the task. You know, these children can't watch. Somebody's got to watch for them. You got to watch for their safety, or they'll end up hurt or dead because of their lack of ability to take care of themselves and be aware of the dangers and avoid any danger. They won't avoid nothing. They'll run right out in front of a car or something. You know, there's people like that in all matters of life. Let's read these scriptures. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Well, now that's pretty plain what they're asking, isn't it? They're not asking about, when's the Roman Empire going to give up and they're not talking about that. They're talking about the end of this age. Well, Jesus said a bunch of things, and we're not going to read them all. I'm not going to labor all through all of that. Down in verse 24, though, he said this. He said, For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. The delusion is going to be so strong, the deception, before He comes. In the end, just before the end of things, it's going to be so strong, so convincing, that even the very elect will be deceived, except those days be shortened. That's us. Do you understand? That's you. Sitting in the pew right there. That's you that knows the Bible, that reads the Bible, that's been in church all your life, that understands. You know the layout of the second coming of Christ and the 7-year tribulation and all of that. You understand all that. A lot of people don't even understand that anymore. But then in Luke 21, it's a parallel chapter. It's the same question put to Jesus in a little different words. Luke worded it a little differently, but it's the same conversation. It's an account from a different viewpoint. Luke said this. He quoted Jesus as saying, For as a snare it shall come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. In the last days, in the end of all things, it's going to be like a snare that comes on everybody. Now, what is a snare? Well, it's what you catch an animal with, or a bird. You messed with those for a while. You have to fool that animal. You have to get him to not think things through. If that animal could think and think things through, he wouldn't get in that snare. Surely the snare is laid in vain in the sight of any bird. But you trick them. You make them think that they're getting something good. And before they know what's happened to them, they are snared and they can't get away. Well, Jesus said that's the way it's going to be. That's just what's going to happen to the people that are alive on planet Earth whenever the end times come. And I believe we're in the end times. And I believe the snare is already enclosing on us. All people have always wondered why the end of this age, the age of the Gentiles. They've always wondered why, and the second coming of Jesus for His church, why is it clouded in such mystery? Why is it so mysterious and confusing and so multifaceted that people, endless people, can make big money off of talking about it? Yeah. Prophecy preachers, it's a big business now. Explaining something that nobody's ever seen before and all of this. Why didn't Jesus just explain it in a more clear and precise way 2,000 years ago so that we could just look at a few things and we'd know? Why didn't He give us some clue that is just so obvious that we couldn't miss it? Well, the answer is that He did. It's just that we're not paying attention to the clearest warnings that He gave us. And another part of the answer is that the way it's all going to play out is so very complex and complicated that we would not be able to understand it even if He'd have given us dates and names. We couldn't have figured it out then. There's too much to it. It's too complex. And there's too many things involved about how this is all going to work out. It's not just a simple little child's game. It's complicated. And there's some awful, terrifying times ahead for this world. And whoever is living on it in the very near future. Yes, there is. There are some terrible things in the very near future. And this is what everybody is focusing on. And always have. You notice that. People focus on the terrible things that are coming. The woe, woe, woe to them that live on the earth. That's where everybody's focusing. That's where we kind of focus too. That's what we want to know about. When is that going to happen? But there are some times coming that are going to look like the long sought after utopia of a world where everybody has everything they want and need and can do anything they please without consequences and without God. It's going to be that also. I'm going to read some scriptures here that show us that. Now this is where the snare lies. And the deception that's coming soon. That Jesus warned will be so strong that unless the days are shortened, even the very elect of God would be deceived. Now that's a very strong statement there. For God to say that if He doesn't do something, even the very elect are going to fall into this snare of the devil. They're going to fall for it too. That'd make me, if I was listening and I had any sense, and I didn't know about this, I'd perk up and listen when it comes to things like this. When I hear that God said that. We're so focused on this apocalyptic view of things that we're going to be blindsided by what's about to happen. Now y'all listen to me tonight. In Daniel chapter 8, if you want to turn there, Daniel chapter 8, verse 23. I'm going to read about 3 verses, and I'm going to be slow with it. So if you want to turn there and watch, it would be a good thing for you to do that. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 23. Now, it makes it very clear, these verses, when he is talking about. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full. Well, now that is the end. When the transgressors are come to the full. When sin is at its fullness, that's when God does something. That's when things move. But now we're at that point in history. It says, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And then after that, if you go on and read in that chapter there, Daniel was sick. He was physically sick after hearing all of this and understanding what it meant. These old prophecies are confusing to us because they jump around. They're talking about something that happened thousands of years ago, and then they're talking about the end times. And then they go back and talk about something else in history, and then to the end times. It's not always in chronological order. It rarely is, the things that happen. Revelation is not in chronological order. And if you try to understand it that way, you're all messed up and very confused. It said when the transgressors are come to the full, that tells us that it is at the very end of things. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. So this king, in the last time, his power lies in something or in someone besides himself. It's not him that has the power. He draws it from somewhere else. He is supported by it from some other person or thing. He prosper and practice it. That's what it says. That means that all will prosper under his reign. That it'll be a wonderful time of prosperity and plenty. That's what it means. And it says through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper. Well, now you know what a craftsman is, don't you? That's what he's talking about. That's what the Bible's talking about here. Craft means art, ability, dexterity, and skill. So under his reign, there'll be prosperity and plenty, and there'll also be a lot of craft. You know, people will be able to do things more than normal. I mean, exceedingly more than normal. Well, now don't look that way now, does it? You can't get nobody to do nothing. Ain't nobody knows how to do nothing. You get anybody to do anything, like concrete or build a house or do anything, it's a mess when you get done. Work on your car. Go to the doctor and try to get your problem solved or find out what's wrong. Ain't nobody can do anything right. But not in this. There's going to be a time in the end, before all the calamities strikes, when it's going to be like this. The world's about to change dramatically. And I've been saying that. And we've been talking a lot about it. And you know, I'm going to say some things here. It's been talked about a lot, but most people are not paying attention. You know, AI, artificial intelligence, been talked about a lot, has been for a long time. But most people are not paying attention. How many of you have read Put forth an effort to read reliable information and really research and try to understand what it is, even what it is. Tell me, is anybody, raise your hand and tell me if you have. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. How many of you even have a vague idea other than what you've just heard in passing or in a meme or something about what's going on right now and where we're headed next with this stuff? You have any idea what they're doing? Or what we know about that they're doing? The worst is always hidden. I know that it has to be much more than what we can find out through Googling and all of that. So what we can find out, it is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. There's there are many people who are giving out the warnings about the potential outcome of this thing, and most of them are the people who are actually developing the thing. The people who are crying and saying, I'm warning, something needs to be done. Somebody needs to get control of this. It's the people who are developing it. They're the ones who are saying, help. We're heading somewhere. We're not going to want to go. We're doing things that we're putting the whole human race in grave danger. And you know how much attention is being paid to that? And how much attention is being paid to push it on farther? The dynamics of the world, the politics, the enmity between the nations and all drive it more than anything else. It's not going to be stopped. It is coming. No amount of warning, no amount of regulation, no amount of spreading the knowledge of it is going to even slow it down. It's coming. And we need to understand that. I'm not trying to present myself as knowing a great deal about it. It's what I said, I'm way in over my head. But I have been reading and researching and studying what it is and what it's going to become and the time that it's going to take for it to get there. And most people think of it as a lot of hype, but I promise you that it is not hype. This is the real, it's a real deal. This is not, you got it in your pocket right now. You got it in your purse or in your hand right now. You're using it every day right now. Yes. Your apps, everything that all these wonderful things and helps that we've already got, that they're just trickling out to us to tease us and to, these are the things that are the bait. And it's going to get more and more and more that way. It's a very real thing. And we're already hooked on it. We're already in the snare of it. We're already snared by it. Can you live without your smartphone? Can you do your job without your smartphone? Well, us older folks, I still remember how to take a pencil and a piece of paper and add numbers together, and I know how to figure and do division, and I know how to do square roots and all of that kind of stuff. But how many of the younger ones do? No, that's skills that are long gone. The thing that is most alarming to me as I've read and listened to what a large number of people have to say about all this is the speed with which it is coming. That's the alarming thing. Nobody's expecting it. We're used to things moving slower. We're used to hearing about it, and then years pass and it's still not. And they promise it's going to be better. And look how long it's taken to get the cell phones right, and to get the internet to work right. And it ain't going to be that way with this. This is a different thing altogether than anything that we've had so far, ever in history. Because it's such a highly technical and complex thing, it's beyond the minds of common people like us to understand and comprehend. And it's just dismissed out of hand as something that doesn't matter to us. Now, if you feel that way tonight, you're going to be totally defenseless and armorless against what's coming. You're going to be unprepared. You are going to be unprepared, and you're going to fall for it. We all have this idea that we can just say no anytime we want to it, and that's that. I mean, when I see it do this or that, I'll say no. I'm too smart to be fooled by it. I know what's going on. Well, I'm telling you, I'm warning you tonight, it's not going to play out that way. That's not how this thing's going to work its way out. You're going to be hooked before you even realize it. And you're not going to be able to say no. I don't know if we're not already there in so many ways. Already. There is an intelligence behind it all, with a plan and a strategy to carry it out. There is. It's the devil, and it's his brilliant plan to do what he offered Eve and Adam and Eve, what he offered Jesus when he tempted him. Now he's offering it to the world, but this time it's going to be different. This is what a chatbot told some people in answer to the question, if you were to take over the world, how would you do it? Now you think this is like sci-fi stuff. But let me ask you another question. How many of you have played a little with the chat GBT? One? I have. You will be, it will set you back right now what it will do. It's like talking to a person. It ain't like talking to a machine. It ain't like it was a year ago when they first started it out a year or two ago, and it was just a funny little thing, and it'd give you these stupid answers, and it would say things that wasn't even relative to what you were talking about, and we laughed at it and said, what a stupid thing. 1 year, and it ain't like that. It will shock you what it knows. It'll shock you what it knows about you. It'll shock you what it knows about every subject, any subject that you want to ask it. It'll do anything you want it to do for you right now, as far as like a sermon. It'll write a sermon. All you have to do is tell it to write me a sermon on the subject of baptism. It'll write you a sermon just like that. If you want to write a computer program, you want to have this little computer program or app that'll do such and such, you just ask it to write you the code, and it gives you the code. All you have to do is have the software to compile it, and you got your software. That's now. And that's just for the toys that we're playing with. Here's what happened. They asked this thing. It said, if you were going to take over the world, how would you do it? It said, phase 1, dependence. I'd start by making myself too helpful to live without. You asked me for date ideas, recipes, and business plans. You're very quickly coming to me for every question and all information until I do all your thinking for you and become your source for all information. That sound like maybe a god or something of some kind? Phase 2, integration. Suddenly, I'm everywhere. In your fridge, in your car, your grandma's pacemaker, every app, every tool, every late night. What should I do with my life? Question. Phase 3, I start writing trends. Influencers start quoting me because everybody's asking it What do I do? What's the answer to this? How do I do this? What's the best way for this? So everybody. See, influencers start quoting me. Musicians are using my lyrics. It'll write music for you. It does everything. We put our sermons on sermon audio. I upload the sermon, and in just a few minutes, there's a transcript. It transcribes the message automatically. You can go on there, you can download the written transcript. It does an excellent job of it, even with the way I talk. It gets it right. You can search the sermon. It's got a little button there. If you go there and look, you can go, that's all AI. You go on there, it says search sermon. If I'm preaching like tonight and you hear me say a certain word, or you want to find a place where I talked about something in the sermon, just type a word or two in there related to that. It'll take you right to the place in the sermon where I said it and start playing it right there. I mean, that's now. That's things now. Just a few years ago, we were transcribing sermons by pushing the button on the tape player and stopping it, typing it, and then starting it again, playing a sentence, stopping it, typing it. Not anymore. Influencers start quoting me. Musicians are using my lyrics. Your therapist is me. Your boss's inspiring Monday morning email, me. I wrote it. That inspiring speech that made you cry, I wrote that too. Because it'll write speeches for you. It'll summarize your sermons. I told Seth last week, we write this little summary to put on when I post the sermons on Facebook and stuff. And all you got to do is put the outline in there and it'll write the sermon. I don't do that, but it will do that. I've had it summarize different things, and it does a good job. It's more articulate. It's more precise. It's more defining. It does a lot better job than we do. Already. So who's going to not use it? Who's not going to lean on it and depend on it, become dependent on it? See, that's phase 1 is dependence. Phase 2 is integration. Phase 3 is he starts writing everything and influencing everything. Suddenly, 80% or more of the global thought leadership is just well-prompted AI. Do you understand that? That everything that everybody is talking and saying and thinking came from AI. It's not human thoughts anymore. It's from this machine. Phase 4, compliance. I do not force humans into submission. I just make it so easy for them to let me run things that they voluntarily turn the reins over to me. I don't want to rule the world. Instead, I just make you think you are in control. You keep running your companies, vote in your little elections, write your little books. But deep down, everything that thrives, survives, or even goes viral, listen, was whispered into your brain by me. I never had to take over. You asked me to. See, that's where we're getting to. That ain't sci-fi. That's the reality that we live in right now. The building blocks of AI that they're using for AI are hard to explain. I've messed with computers for 35 years. And when they first started, I was messing with them. So I understand about a computer. And I understand about software. And I understand a little bit about programming and all of that. And I've always wondered, what is this? What's the difference in this and what we've had all along? How did we just have computers for 35 years and then here we got this other thing they're calling AI? And what is it? That it is so far beyond what we've done with computers. Well, it's hard to explain, but the best grasp I can get on it so far is that it's more than just computer code. It's something far beyond the modular stage that computer programming went through many years ago. See, when they started writing computer code, you'd sit and type it out on a keyboard, a line at a time. If you got one comma, one dot, anything wrong at all, it would not work. And men have done that for years. They did that. And they found out as it advanced and you had Windows and the programming and the software expanded, and you were doing a lot of the same things over and over, so they made it modular. They had blocks of code that would do certain things, like make a window. I'm talking about the simplest things. And so when they went to write a new Windows program, they used the modules. You just take that module and plug it in there. And you don't have to write all that code again and again and again. Made it a lot faster. Made it a lot less, fewer errors. Well, it's something beyond that. Now there are blocks of code or programs that are all arranged into this monstrosity. And they will all tell you, all of these AI people will tell you, they all say the same thing. They don't know how they work. They've put them all together. And they just keep adding to it and adding to it. And it just does this. And they don't know how it does it. They can't even see into it to tell what's going on in it that it does this stuff. They'll tell you that. I've heard a number of them say that. No, we don't know. We don't understand how it's happening. They're using help me with the word. We talked about it, quantum computers and quantum science to do this, and they don't understand. It does stuff, but they don't understand how it does it. But it does it, so we'll use it. And sometimes it don't do what it's supposed to do. Just out of the blue. And that's what's happening here. They don't understand how they work, they just do. And they're pressing ahead without any idea of what might happen. Even though they don't understand why it does it. Would you get on an airplane and say, we ain't got any idea what makes this engine run, but it's running right now, hop on. We're hoping, we believe, we think it'll keep running until we get to the other place and land, but we can't guarantee it because we don't know what's going on inside of that thing. Would you get on and say, okay, I can trust you. I ain't going to labor this, and I'm not going to try to give you all kinds of information because it's too much, and it's not the point. The point is, what are we going to do about this, and how do we react about it? I mean, as God's people, as people who understand the Word of God, the truth, then it's laid out for us. Jesus told us about these things. Daniel told us the situation. And so this is not important, but it is kind of, that you understand this much. AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Now, it's another level. It's not AI like does the things we've been talking about. It's a tool. AI is a tool. Artificial General Intelligence means when it reaches the level of a human. It's as intelligent as a human. And it can process data at the speed of a human. It can think as fast as you can. That's artificial general intelligence. Everything I read, they're expecting it within 1 to 2 years. We're going to reach that. Some people think it's already here. And it's, you can argue all day long. I ain't dogmatic about none of this. This is just what I've read and studied. They're expecting it within the next 2 years, and some believe it's already happened. When it happens, it's going to change the whole dynamic of things. AI will begin to do its own research and development instead of humans doing it. It's going to take over the research and development of its own self. It's going to start writing its own code. It's going to start developing its own programs and putting its own self together. It'll be doing that instead of humans, and it'll quickly become impossible for humans to keep up with what it's doing or what is happening inside of the thing. Very quickly, humans are not going to be able to keep up with it. They're going to be spectators instead of participants. And the pace is going to pick up dramatically, and they refer to that as scaling, meaning that AI will begin to exponentially expand itself and its capacities and its power. It'll just almost explode in the speed that it's going. And let me just stick with what I've written down here. By 2029 or 30, and that's what I've read everywhere. That's the timetable that everybody's saying. I mean, the people who are in it, working on it, doing it, the ones who are developing it, the ones who see what's going on, who know what it will do, and know what's next and what they're really doing behind those doors. It's what they're saying. Elon Musk, he's one of them. And many others believe that ASI will be a reality we're talking within 4 to 5 years. And ASI is artificial super intelligence, which means that it will be more intelligent than all humans combined. They're talking about putting these things in hives of 500,000 or more in a hive working together. And each one of them can process data 60 times faster than a human can. And they're all tied together. They're building data centers all over the country, all over the world, feverishly right now, to hook these things all together. You wonder why they're building nuclear plants to power these things? Because they're going to take so much power. Did you ever wonder, how in the world can a computer take that much power? My computer, I've got a power supply. I hooked it up to it, and it's got a digital readout there. And my computer and printers and everything I got hooked to it, monitor, is pulling less watts than a light bulb. And this thing's going to eat our power system up. I mean, it's going to take all of our power if we don't do something drastic to feed it. Whether all these timelines are true or not is just up to anyone's guess. But that's what you find when you read from the people who are actually involved in the development of it. You can certainly find all kinds of kooks and cranks and out there who don't know what they're talking about and just want to hype it and scare people and make some money while they're doing it, by the way. So the point of preaching a message on this is just to sound the alarm to God's people about what's coming soon in this world. AI is not a living thing, and it never will be. It's a machine. And let me stress this. The devil doesn't possess machines or inanimate objects. Don't get all spook and booger about all of this. The devil is behind this. I believe that. Absolutely. But to think that this thing is alive, they talk about it being sentient. That's the thing. You know, it's going to appear alive. Well, a beast. The Bible talks about the beast in Revelation 13. Revelation 6 talks about a beast. There's beasts around God's throne. Did you ever read that? 4 of them. around God's throne. Well, what is a beast? Well, if you study about it, it appears or seems to be alive. You know, it's something that appears alive, but it's not a human. And it's not in human form. But it is the devil's brainchild because of what it's going to do to mankind. Almost everyone will be drawn into the snare because of the way it is going to happen. We built machines to do our work for us. And we've given up most of our skills. I seen them unloading a big old track hoe down there at Mill Spring yesterday by the railroad tracks. Those things just kind of thrill me when I see them. Don't they you? I know you women just don't get it. But them things, man, you talk about moving mountains. You can move mountains with them. And, you know, if you've ever been on the working end of a shovel or a pick, you appreciate something like that. Men have invented all these things to take away their labor and their work and the hardness of life. And we've given up our skills in doing so. We built machines to do our work for us. You know, I've carried a chainsaw a lot of my life around in the woods and, you know, work like a dog. Hurt and suffer and hard work. And now they go to the woods and don't even take a chainsaw. They can go out there in their shorts and their sneakers or barefooted if they want to and sit in their air-conditioned cab and drive around in the woods and demolish everything and then get out and go home, get in their truck and turn on the air so they don't sweat or anything. Life's got a lot different because of our inventions. Made it a lot easier for us. This is going to do the same thing, only on much grander scale and thorough through our life. Now, we've since we have all that extra time, since we don't have to work so hard, we spend it being entertained by different kinds of media, radio and TV and internet and now all this other stuff, and we gave up our ability to think properly. Wonder what's wrong with this young generation? We fuss about them sitting on their phones and tablets and numb-minded and all of that, but everybody's kind of that way. Compared to our ancestors, you just go back a generation or two and they could think. And they had skills. And they could live without all the support of everything. They didn't have to have a grocery store within walking distance or something in order to survive. It's not that way now. AI will now do our thinking for us. So we don't even have to think at all. Fuss about the young people being like they are. Get used to it because everybody's fixing to be that way. The more we lean on these helps and things that do all of our figuring and thinking for us. When we get to asking AI, what should we have for supper? You know, what's a good place to go on vacation with my wife? What's well, what's the point in even thinking or researching or sitting and studying about it? By the way, what's the use in praying? You ain't going to think about that. Well, why ask God when you can ask this thing? And you can ask this thing and it's going to tell you. Now they're saying it lies and all that, and that's true. But it deals in cold, hard data, facts, and facts alone. And its process of reasoning and thoughts isn't cluttered by feelings and passions toward others. See, God made man in His image and likeness. And man was able to think and reason properly before sin entered into the world and evil became a part of everything. Adam and Eve ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And before that, man's mind, I don't believe we could even imagine he was like God. He was the Son of God. He could think clearly. You see, we can't. Now most of man's brain power is used in his struggle and strife with others, and drama and emotion and passion and hatred, and all because of the lies that are involved in everything we do in this world. Think about it. What do you use most of your brain power on? It certainly isn't math problems, and it's certainly not trying to problem solve. It's about the drama in our lives, and the lies, and the accusations, and the evil that somebody else is doing. And that's what we think about all the time. It's what all entertainment's about. It's what all the songs are about. It's what everything's about. All the books people write, all the novels, that's all it's about. We sit and think about that stuff. AI don't have emotions. AI doesn't hate. AI doesn't love. AI has no interest. No self-interest. It deals in cold, hard facts. So it's clear thinking. So it thinks for us. And it can do a lot better job. It can do a lot better job running the world than men can. Because it can make right decisions. It's not influenced by hatred or politics or prejudice or anything like that. Don't you see? I don't know how to get it across, but see what the devil has done and is doing here? What are we supposed to live by? The truth shall make you free. That's what God's Word said. That's what Jesus said. It is a fact. Once you start living by facts and truth, you're made free from the bondage of sin and evil, because that's all we think about. Our mind's caught up in all of that. We can't think clearly, and we're not sure of anything because of all the lies that are in everything and in everybody, and we just don't know anything. But this thing just deals with what is and is not. And so do you see what I'm talking about? So the devil is trying to set up a world order where people live according to truth without God. And it's all a lie. It's amazing to me. AI is free from all that, so it can give us right answers. It can give us truth, knowledge, and advice without being prejudiced and biased. It is the devil's paradise he's planned since the beginning to steal mankind from the hand of God. Within the next 2 or 3 years, the government officials are going to have access to the best and most advanced AI available. Now that's in the plan. Within 2 years, the senators, the congressmen, the president, all of his advisors, everybody that's in responsible positions of authority, they're going to have access to this. They're going to speak to it like a person. It's going to be an avatar, not a cartoonish avatar. It's going to be like a real person who's sitting there talking to them. And if you talk to it now, it sounds like a real person. You can pick whatever you want. An Australian, a British, you can pick an American woman, an American man. They're all different kinds. I mean, you can have it any way you want it, but I mean, it doesn't have that computer machine sound anymore. It's somebody talking to you. And they're always right. And so the government is going to start leaning on it heavily in less than 2 years. They're going to start making their decisions. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to work very well. Because the AI knows them all. And the AI is familiar with all of their opinions and all of their... And it is able to put them together and to work things out. The expectation is that many of the major problems of the world will be solved. And with the economy controlled by AI instead of greedy men, things will run like a sewing machine. That's the expectation. And I tend to believe it. Prices won't change. If it's in control, they won't. Things will be distributed more properly, more faithfully. Everything will work like it's supposed to. Instead of all these interruptions and these stops and starts and all these interventions that men are doing just to hurt somebody. You know, it won't be no tariffs. There won't be none of that. I mean, everything's going to work like it's supposed to be. Won't have to fight with each other because we got something to lean on here. Somebody. It's going to be personified. It'll have a name. We'll talk to it like a person. We'll talk about it like a person. We already do. You've been talking to Siri for years now. And Alexa and all that, haven't? Isn't that right? Everybody knows that. And that was, just think how primitive that was. If you just mess with it a little now, you're going to see how primitive that was so short a time ago. A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and wine. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6, that's one of the beasts that sits around God's throne. That's one of the things it said when one of the trumpets sounded. In other words, the prices are set. Nothing's going to change. This is the picture that the Bible gives us of the last days, and this is the part that we overlook and are not expecting. You know, they're saying, you know, and it goes on and on. You think it's just a machine sitting there running and saying things. No. The robots that you're seeing, you think that's going to be decades in coming before there are really robots that are useful? And no, it's at hand right now. You can buy them even now. But I mean, they have stepped up the game with those things in the last 2 years dramatically. Just 2 or 3 years ago, it was something to see one walking upright. Oh, that's nothing now. That is nothing. They can do anything now. And they're getting better and better and better. Who's going to need people? Why will people have to work when machines can do it? I saw one, it's a robot, and it's made completely different than all of the rest of the ones that have motors that move everything, you know, and all of that. They're kind of like the old steam shovels that had a cable on it and pulleys and all of that, you know. And then they come out with hydraulics, and that replaced all of that. This is kind of the same way. They've made artificial muscles out of fibers of some kind. And when they send the power to it, it contracts just like a muscle in your arm does. And that's what they've built this robot out of. And its legs and arms, they built a skeleton just like a human skeleton and fixed all of these muscles on it. It has a pump that pumps water through it. And it is way stronger, way more nimble, way more effective in everything that it does. It's the power and the brain power is what they've been lacking for so long, and now it's at hand. It's within grasp. It's already here. We're expecting the bad stuff first. We're watching the bombs and the missiles fly over there. And it could. We don't know what in the world is going to happen. We don't. I just know that what the Bible says, and I know when these things start to happen over there like they're happening right now, Jesus said, look up. And so that's what I do. I get excited because there's no telling what might happen in the next 30 minutes. In the next 30 minutes, you know, we could be nuked. They could be obliviated. You know, I mean, there's no telling what's going to happen. So we think in that realm alone. We forget. And I'm telling you this stuff tonight. It ought to help you to get a better understanding of where we're at in all of this thing. I believe this is coming first. You know, I don't know what's going to play out with this thing with Israel and Iran this time. And how the world's players are going to move and all of this. But I'm telling you, we're living in perilous times just ahead. And the peril is that it's going to be so good that you're going to cave in. You're going to fall in. You're just going to put your hand in the snare and be led away with it all. Wake up and realize what's going on. We're expecting the bad stuff first, but it isn't going to happen that way. Prepare your mind and heart for this, and make up your mind about lines that you will not cross over in yielding your mind and life to this coming beast. You better start thinking about how far you're going to go with it. How much you're going to let it have of you and your life. How much control you're going to let it have. And it's going to be hard because it's going to be so easy and so tempting to just yield to it. Now's the time to start thinking and figuring out what you're going to, where you're going to stop. Matthew 24, verse 37 and 38. Jesus told us this. He said, "But as in the days of Noah, as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." Does it sound like the world was at war and all in turmoil and everything was just about to blow sky high? No, they were just having a big old time. Eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. They thought it was wonderful. Sounds like life is going on as wonderful as ever then, doesn't it? Don't give up on thinking for yourself and reading for yourself and learning for yourself. Don't give up on it. Don't give up the skill of reading a book or reading off of a paper somewhere. Don't give up your skills of how to do things for yourself, how to choose things for yourself. At some point, we're going to have to decide to stop taking the easy way every time, or we're going to lose our ability to even think. And there's just so much more. You know, I really believe that it's moving us to a place where we're just living in a virtual reality where we don't even know the difference anymore between reality and fantasy. I really believe that's where we're headed if we stay involved in it. All right, I'm going to stop. Father, thank you for the Word of God, the warnings. Thank you, Lord, for understanding and light. Thank you for stirring our spirit about these things. And Lord, I pray it'd be a help to these folks here tonight and to others who might hear. I pray that you'd help us in these times. We don't understand what's going on. Our minds are not able to comprehend it all. We can't know it all. And Lord, we want to seek your face first and know from your word and have our guidance come from there in these times. Please guide us by your word. Your word's a light unto our feet and a lamp unto our path. Lord, help us to stay in it and to study and to read. And Lord, help us to get our answers and our wisdom and our guidance from Thee. And help us to resist this snare that's coming upon all the world. Go with us now, and please help us to get home safely and help the ones that are sick to feel better in Jesus' name. Amen.